Today we're going to talk about asking polite questions. This is important because we need to ask questions all the time in our daily lives to get information. Questions are also one of the tools we use to get to know someone. So you want to be careful when you're asking questions and avoid questions that seem rude. Now, whether a question is rude or not depends on the culture. And though that does change, in American culture, there are definitely questions you should not ask a stranger. Some of them can seem rude, even if you're talking to a friend. For example, Americans usually do not like to talk about money, even with people they know. And you should avoid very personal questions or questions about someone's appearance with coworkers or people you don't know well. So what are some examples of rude questions? How old are you? In some cultures, this is a perfectly fine question. In American culture, it's rude. Are you married? You can ask this question if you are starting to get to know someone. You do not ask this question of a stranger. It's rude. Do you have children? Are you planning to have children? Are you pregnant? When is the baby due? This is especially rude if you ask a woman who it turns out is not actually pregnant. How much money do you make? Or how much do you earn? But those questions mean the same thing. They're both rude. How much is your rent? How much did you pay for that? Is that your real hair color? How much do you weigh? What size do you wear? Are you gay? Who did you vote for? What is your religion? Where are you from? Now, where are you from is not necessarily a rude question, but especially if you're talking to a stranger, it can feel very personal. There are people who were born in the United States, but who maybe have immigrant parents who are asked where they're from. And if they say, I'm from New Jersey, they're told, no, where are you really from? But if you're getting to know someone, not a stranger, this is a perfectly normal thing to be curious about. I think a friendlier way to ask is, where did you grow up? That's something you can ask anyone, whether they're from a different country or a different neighborhood in your city. This is an example of something we do in English to make questions or statements more polite. We make them less direct. For example, I want. It's not necessarily rude to say, I want. It's very direct. And if you're telling your daughter, I want you to clean this room, it's very appropriate. But in a restaurant, if you say, I want a cheeseburger, it sounds like a demand. It's not really rude, not like asking the waitress if she's pregnant, but it's not very polite. So instead of saying, I want, which sounds a little rude, a little too direct, we would say, I would like, or I'd like. It's the less direct way of speaking. Another example is question, what is your job? This is not really a rude question, but Americans don't ask it that way, so it can sound strange. We would say, what do you do for a living? Or more commonly, what do you do? When you need to ask a stranger a question, there's language you can use that makes the question more polite. For example, what time does the train leave? Not a rude question, but a more polite way to put it is, excuse me, can you tell me what time the train leaves? So the conductor tells you it leaves at 9:30. Thank you. Do you happen to know which platform? Can you tell me what time the train leaves? And do you happen to know which platform? Or do you know which platform? Are more polite ways of asking these questions. Also notice that when you put, can you tell me, in front of your question, you have to take out the does. So what time does the train leave becomes, can you tell me what time the train leaves? This is language you use when you're asking for information. Here's some examples. What time does the store close? Can you tell me what time the store closes? Again, notice we don't use the does. Can you tell me what time the store closes? Where are the children's clothes? Do you know where the children's clothes are? What time is it? Do you happen to know the time? Or very commonly, people will just say, do you have the time? Does this bus go to Ridgewood? Do you know if this bus goes to Ridgewood? Here's another example. You're meeting a friend at an outdoor cafe and you need a chair. You notice that the man here reading a book isn't using the other chair at the table. So you want to ask, can I take this chair? Again, the more polite way to do this would be to say, excuse me, would you mind if I take this chair? Or if you don't want to move the chair, you just want to sit in it. Instead of saying, can I sit here? You might say, excuse me, is it all right if I sit here? Also notice that with can I questions, it's more polite to say, may I? May I sit here? Excuse me, may I sit here? Would you mind if I? Is it all right if I? This is language you use when you're asking for permission. And some more examples. Can I come in? May I come in? Can I move this bag? Would you mind if I move this bag? Can I wait here? Is it all right if I wait here? Can I bring my children? Is it okay if I bring my children? Using language like, can you tell me? Do you happen to know, or do you know? Would you mind if I? Is it all right if I? To make your questions less direct when you're talking to strangers will ensure that you always sound polite. And remember, always say, excuse me, please, and thank you.